text this morning, John 19:19 to 22. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, Write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I have written, I have written. Beloved, Christ's trial before Pontius Pilate centered on one issue. Is this Jesus a rival king to Rome? That was what Pilate was concerned about when he questioned Jesus. What kind of king are you, Jesus? Are you an earthly king? A king who will overthrow the Roman government? If so, you are a danger to Rome. But if you're any other kind of king, I'm not interested in you. And when Pilate had questioned Jesus and come to the conclusion that Jesus was not an earthly king, he had no further interest in the case. And the text tells us that he was mindful to release Jesus. But the chief priests were worried that Jesus was going to escape. They would be satisfied with nothing less than the death penalty for Jesus Christ. They had rejected him. They hated him. They wanted to see him dead. And when they thought that he was going to be let go, they started to threaten Pilate, to blackmail him. They said, If thou let this man go, verse 12 of chapter 19, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. For Pilate this was decisive. He was not willing to uphold justice for the sake of losing favor with Caesar. That was his concern. He knew if he lost favor with Caesar, he would be in major trouble. And so he was prepared to get rid of Jesus of Nazareth for his own sake. He knew. He said it 3 times. Jesus Christ is innocent. I find no fault in him. John 18, verse 38. And verse 4 of the next chapter. That ye may know that I find no fault in him. And verse 6. For I find no fault in him. And so, he should have released Jesus of Nazareth because he found nothing wrong with him. He had committed no crime whatsoever, but he was forced into a corner by the chief priests of the Jews, and he understood that he had been defeated. But he had one last jibe at the chief priests, and that jibe was found in his preparing a superscription for the cross, which read, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews, which is a superscription both scornful and accurate. Let's consider this then under the theme, Calvary's scornful but accurate superscription. First of all, look at the scornful content, then at the effect, and then at the accuracy of this superscription at Calvary. This superscription was a scorning of Jesus Christ, because Pilate wanted to mock Jesus' claim to kingship. As a Roman governor, the only kingship which he recognized was one which was built upon brute force and military pomp. That was the kind of kingship that he knew. Rome ruled over the entire world of that day, and Rome had subjugated the tiny nation of Israel. And now, there's this man standing before Pilate claiming to be a king. But he has no subjects, he has no obvious power, and he's standing at Pilate's mercy. And Pilate says to him, "Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee and have power to release thee?" But Jesus explained to Pilate in unmistakable language that he was not an earthly king. He was a spiritual king. "My kingdom is not of this world," he said. "The citizens of my kingdom do not fight," he added. "And the citizens of my kingdom are those who are of the truth," he concluded. And Pilate's response to this claim of Jesus Christ was scorn. "What is truth?" he asked, in a scornful, mocking way. For Pilate, there was no such thing as truth. There were various kinds of philosophies, various kinds of theories and religions, but as today, in our postmodern society, there was no such thing as absolute truth. This Jesus of Nazareth, who stood before Pilate, as far as Pilate was concerned, he is a fool. A harmless fool, but a fool nonetheless. Such a king, thought Pilate, deserves to be treated with contempt. What kind of king allows himself to be arrested, bound, spat upon, and brought before me, the king of Rome? What kind of king is this? What kind of king would not at least rally together some of his followers to try and release him from prison and from death? And so Pilate does not understand what kind of king Jesus is, and he mocks him and he scorns him, and then he shows what he thinks of Christ's kingship by handing him over to his soldiers to engage in a mock coronation. And we see that in the first couple of verses of chapter 19, how the soldiers mocked his claim to kingship. They made him a crown of thorns, and they put it upon his head. And it caused him to bleed from his head all down his face. And they beat him on his back until blood ran down his back. And they put on him a purple robe. And they bowed down before him in mockery. "Hail, King of the Jews! Hail, King of the Jews!" laughing and mocking. And then when they had finished doing that, they brought him before Pilate, and there he stood, a king, in a purple robe, covered in blood, blood pouring down his back and down his legs, now standing before Pontius Pilate. And Christ, who is the true king of the Jews, and who is also the suffering servant of Jehovah, does not utter one word of complaint. He does not try to rescue himself. He does not show forth his power. He just stands there in his royal dignity. So Pilate made this superscription in order to mock the kingship of Jesus Christ. But he also made the superscription to mock the Jews. Remember who the Jews are. At this time, the Jews are under the power of Rome. And Pilate knows that the Jews are urgently and ardently waiting for a Messiah to come. Some kind of king who will release them from Roman oppression. And they've been waiting for a very long time. Hundreds and hundreds of years have passed by, and there's no sign of a king. And now, here is one who claims to be a king.